By decree of the Queen that was and the will of the Steel Garrote, you will meet justice. Kneel, Oswald, and be tried for your crimes.
Hello and welcome to Session 12 of my Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Lorethrough. We are currently at the Valiant Trading Company in Nekataka. We did a few things. The Valiant Trading Company would say we did it for them, although I think we kind of did it because it was our interest kind of coincided with the interests of the Valiant Trading Company. And that's to say that I don't really agree with what the Valiant Trading Company is doing here, what their goals are and all that stuff. But I did agree with the actual things that they wanted to do, including uncorrupting that Adra. And we also visited a realm. The Animancers are trying to set up some kind of teleportation device through Luminous Adra. They're experimenting with that, and it took us to Remergon's realm, where, you know, a lot of people had already died. Remergon told us to stop meddling, and we didn't get a chance to tell any of these people that Remergon told us to do that. So I'm thinking there's probably a second part of this quest at some point, but we're going to have to wait for that. Today, we are going to start with a little bit more history of the Deadfire. To recap so far, we've read about the initial settling of the Huana in the Deadfire, but we found last time, and it did say something in the guidebook, but we also found last time that the Huana and the long-extinct Inquisitor race had some kind of contact with each other. We saw some murals on a ruin of Inquisitors sacrificing some of the Huana, and by doing a little bit of digging in the ruins at Pogokahara, we found that they were being sacrificed to supply some kind of essence for some of the machines that were running down there. Kind of struggling to remember exactly what we saw down there, but we saw the little pods where they were sacrificed. And then the first of the people that didn't initially settle the Deadfire that started to figure out the value of what was in the Deadfire was the Valiant Trading Company, which is where we are now. They especially were after the Luminous Adra here to harvest and sell it. The Valiant Trading Company is an offshoot of Old Valia, which is a now defunct empire. I don't think they're gone, but they are not nearly as powerful as they once were. And the Valiant Trading Company has a huge foothold in the Deadfire to harvest this Luminous Adra, and they have set up some kind of trade because of it. However, some of them became disillusioned with what the Valiant Trading Company was doing, and they formed the Principi San Prutena, which is the group of pirates that we can join if we want to, but they are another one of the important factions in the Deadfire. They are not just people from the Valiant Trading Company, although that's who started it. Then, last session, we read about the Royal Deadfire Company and why they came to the Deadfire. We learned that their home in Rawatai has a very harsh climate. In order to get food and things like that, they actually have to trade. So they are very good with military might. They have a lot of raw material to make things for military, but not so much to actually sustain themselves. So they have to trade for food and those kinds of things. And they are in the Deadfire as a way to maybe find new materials to trade. And one of the interesting things that I just kind of coincided very nicely with what I did in my last session, we found that one of the reasons they wanted to come here was because of the storm in Andra's Mortar, which is a portion of the sea map, which is to the northeast. And there has just been, for as long as anyone remembers, just constant storms. You can't travel to Ukaizo, which is thought to be a lost city, in the middle of the storm. You can't go there because the storms are so severe that nobody would actually make it. We also learned that in Rawatai, they are kind of plagued with similar storms. They're not, obviously not as terrible, but they are storms that have just kind of been very treacherous for the people of Rawatai. And they wanted to come here not only to get material, not only to set up a foothold in the Deadfire, but to also maybe see if they could figure out what exactly is going on with these storms. And last session, when we went through Pogokahara, and we uncorrupted the Adra there, the storms around Pococahara dissipated. They were not nearly as extreme as these other storms that we were talking about, but even though we didn't do what the Royal Trade Deadfire Company wanted us to do there, they were still intrigued with how we were able to get the storms to stop. And so that was just kind of like, I didn't plan it. That was just a nice little meshing of the history that I read at the beginning of the session with what we actually did throughout the session. And today we are going to continue reading. I'm on the wrong page here. Excuse me. We are going to continue reading about the Water Shaper's revitalization. Now, we did meet a Water Shaper in Tekehu, who was a big jerk, so I took him out of our party, but he was the Andra God-like, who was very high on himself. So this is in 2801 AI, so 27 years ago. And this is the Water Shaper's revitalization. Accepting their inability to hold back the tide of Valians and Rowattians into their homeland, the Huana turned to their Water Shapers for aid. The masters of the guild were largely storm speakers, responsible for keeping the seas and weather around villages in an orderly state. It only took a shift in perspective from them to adapt the same skills toward the defense of the Isles. When relations with the colonial powers grew strained and violent, the Water Shapers were called upon as royal retainers. They commanded the seas to rise and devour foreign ships, flood colonies, or interrupt the tides at a moment's notice. The loss of cargo, resources, and capable sailors threatened to destabilize all settlement efforts, giving both Valian and Rowattian trading companies cause to take stock in their one-sided relations with the Huana. As violence between kith escalated, the mere sight of an approaching Huana vessel was enough to send hardened veterans scrambling in haste to retreat. Throughout all the posturing and demonstration of their abilities, the Huana fought to suppress the reality that their Water Shapers were few and far between. The water shaping was considered the greatest achievement of their ancestors. Few modern Huana grasped the complexity of the ritualistic forms and mindsets needed to exercise the talent to its greatest known capacity. The oldest guild histories tell of the ancient Huana's mastery over the art, but such lessons were lost or suffered gradual decline after millennia of forgetfulness. The water-shaping art made a sudden, fortuitous turnaround and experienced a resurgence of efficacy under the tutelage of Guildmaster Periki. Periki is the person who the Overlook is named after, the section of Nekataka called Periki's Overlook. Shortly after she assumed a leadership position in the guild, students found themselves able to achieve complicated forms with minimal strain. More acolytes graduated to become storm speakers than ever in recorded history. Many took this miraculous reversal of fortunes as a sign of Ngati's favor towards the chosen people of the Deadfire. How Periki accomplished the deed is not known, though students would whisper that the subsequent guildmasters inherited the secret of Periki's strength. Foreign authorities would never again underestimate the power of the Huana, though they were watchful for any weakness or fracturing in the native ranks. The Water Shapers Guild grew in power and esteem, rising to become one of the most important fixtures in Nekataka, if not the whole of the archipelago. We've actually run into some of the storm speakers in Port Maje, I believe. I think there was one in Tikuara as well, although I could be wrong about that. But they control the storms, or they can control the storms, and they can, shape water. So their power is especially, I want to say powerful, but I already said power. Oh well, I'm going to stick with it. Their skills are especially powerful in an area where there is so much water. I also want to read the next short section. Hasongo established. This is 10 years ago. The reason I want to read this is because I don't know if it's going to be this session, but very soon, if not this session, probably next, we will be going to Hasongo. So I wanted to read this section before we actually got there. Seeking to spread their influence in the region, but hesitant to incur the anger of the Huana, the Royal Deadfire Company shifted their focus away from Huana-occupied lands for a time. Warships armed with cannons and explosives set a course for the reef of Hasongo, a shallow port with a prominent pillar of luminous Adra that could serve as a navigational beacon for incoming ships. The Naga who occupied Hasongo for untold generations objected to this incursion. Since their appeals fell on deaf ears, hostilities broke out in short order. This time, Rowattai learned from the lesson of Nakaro Atoll and arrived to the battlefield over-prepared. routing the Naga with ease. After the dust settled, the colonial settlement of Hasongo was firmly established, and the Adra was converted into a lighthouse that guided countless warships safely to the archipelago. So Hasongo is home to this Adra lighthouse here. It was also one of the several conflicts between the Royal Deadfire Company and the native Naga, who we have not run into yet. So that's a little bit on the Water Shapers Guild, which we have visited in Pariki's Overlook. Like I said, we met Takehu, who is a Water Shaper, and we also met a few of the Storm Speakers, so that's a very important fixture in Nekataka. And we also learned a little bit about Hasongo, which we will be visiting soon, if not today. All right. So I think that's it by way of introduction. So like I said, we are currently in the Valiant Trading Company headquarters. Let's head out and head to the open seas. And we have already rested at the Wild Mare. So you see our buffs here, +1 cast with level 1 spells and +1 to all skills. So we're just going to head to our ship. And I think first, what I want to do today, in like session 1 or 2, maybe 3, we went to the Oathbinder's Sanctum, where I kind of embarrassingly realized that word made sense to me, and I knew who it was, and it was a reference to Woedica. And when we got down to the bottom of a pyramid there was a fight that we couldn't really take on at that point, but we have since leveled up. We have some better gear now, so I think that's where I want to head to first. So first we're going to leave. As you ready your ship, a cloaked figure mounts the gangplank and roughly forces a burned book into your hands. They turn and depart without a word. All right, let's read the book. This is the Burned Book of Law. We can see that it has the broken Woedican crown on the cover here. The binding of this tome reeks of smoke. What few pages remain are crinkled and black. Based on the few chapter headings that survived the fire damage, this might have been a book of antiquated laws. Now it's nothing more than a charred relic of authority. Gonna open the book.
You crack the spine of the old book, revealing blackened pages of dense, illegible text. The words recede into the shadows the longer you focus on them. Suddenly, the page widens to eclipse the world around you. A dark void stretches out on all sides. The air full of choking fumes that carry dying embers and curling flakes of ash.
So we're in some kind of a void brought on by the book. I will wave to dispel the smoke.
Something stirs in the darkness. An old woman steps forward, leering down at you from on high. Her smile is toothy and cruel. Her cheeks warp around it like melted candle wax.
This is Woedica here.
I'm so glad that my messenger tracked you down. These days it's impossible to find good help.
Woedica.
Watcher? Before you draw your weapon, know that these proceedings are under a banner of peace. If this was a trap, it would have already closed around you. While Bareth whispers in one ear and Aethys shouts in the other, I thought you could use a more seasoned perspective to drown out the noise.
So you dragged me into this blistering inferno?
This is but a small corner of the beyond. One that I use for privacy and contemplation, when I need to get away from the endless chatter. Don't you find it unusual how open and accessible my siblings have made themselves? After millennia of subdued whispers, now they practically scream their intentions.
So at least acknowledging the fact that the gods for a long time haven't really meddled, but here they are basically showing up to me and letting them know what we want, that kind of thing. So Woedica is at least recognizing the difference between how the gods used to act and how the gods are acting now.
And isn't it strange how we never bicker unless a mortal is watching?
Also, I wanted to point out, I believe, and please someone correct me if I'm wrong, this book and these discussions that I don't think this is the only one we'll be having with just Woedica. I believe they were kind of added after the fact. After the initial game release, when players were wondering why the gods were so different here. They were kind of unsure of what they wanted, those kinds of things. This was kind of like a way to appeal to the people who were saying that. I think. I could be wrong about that, but I think I remember hearing that. And me, myself, I don't think I ever played it before that initial. I bought the game on release. I think I may have backed it. No, I didn't back the second one. But I bought the game on release. I just didn't play it for a while. And I think my first experience included this book and these conversations with Woedica. And isn't it strange how we never bicker unless a mortal is watching? Gods are a dramatic bunch by nature.
By necessity, in fact. But that's hardly the point. If we still possessed our glorious titans, my siblings and I would have put an end to Aethys and his rampage by now.
These titans must have been bodies that the gods inhabited?
While we are powerless to stop him, some of my kin wish to observe how mortals respond to this threat. They think it will shine a light on the value of our patronage. Have we raised you well enough to be self-sufficient? Or must we return to Eora and impose some corrective measures?
Suggesting that some of the gods are just kind of like sitting back and watching how we respond to Aethys. And if we prove ourselves, what then?
What indeed? That would depend on which of us you ask. A cross-section of society has converged on the Deadfire. Some of my kin are of an opinion that we are meant to judge mortals on the basis of their performance.
So they're judging us and how we react to this.
While the rest of us have already made up our minds on the matter.
So why do I get the feeling you're trying to convince me of something? And that is our insight that allows us to say that.
Clever child. It's important for my own reasons that I earn your trust. For now, at least. When we ascended to godhood, we did so to provide for a savage people. Our goal was to craft a society whose values were made to last. Perhaps even a society that had no need of us. A naive fallacy, but one that inspired my optimistic, misguided kin.
I wonder how many of them really wanted a society that did not need them. If they had these titans and stuff like that, then and they were more involved in affairs of Kith, how does it get to the point where you don't need them anymore? Woedica at least is being upfront that she thinks that the Kith will always need them, but apparently some gods thought differently.
How you and your allies counter this threat will demonstrate whether you are competent enough to guide your own destinies, or if we need to revise our strategy. The soft-hearted among us are counting on you to win this existential wager. No doubt, Aethys shares their sympathies. I do not. We exist to rule over mortals. Nothing can change that. So now you know the truth. I assume you have questions.
Why'd you choose to confide in me?
Whether knowingly or unintentionally, you seem to find yourself on the vanguard of change. Mortals like you come but once in a lifetime. Some would react poorly if I stripped mortals of their freedom without giving them a chance to plead their case. You have the honor of standing tall as their advocate. Before I return to Eora and assume my position as your deserving tyrant, you have this opportunity to prove me wrong. To demonstrate whether or not mortals are responsible enough to claim their future.
So Woedica still plans on becoming our tyrant. You speak as if we don't have a chance.
You speak as if you do. Mortals have precious little time to decide for themselves. Will they stand together as one, or swallow their pride and bend the knee? I have every confidence that you will disappoint us. Once my position is upheld, the undecided among the gods will embrace my plan.
Let's see what happens here. This is an interesting response to me here. I have some questions that seem to move it forward, but I also have this one. I want to talk about the wheel and your rise to godhood.
The wheel is our shared responsibility, and each of us serves it in our own fashion. I am the axle upon which the gods balance their power. Aethys keeps the wheel in motion. He was our promise to mortals that time and labor would yield a deserving reward on the next turning of the cycle.
How exactly does the wheel function?
Much of reincarnation's mechanism exists in the idea space of the beyond. You wouldn't find a wall of cogs and levers unless we conjured one to illustrate a point.
Okay, so while the wheel is a physical thing, saying here the reason it works is because it's in the beyond, is because of idea in the idea space of the beyond. So there's no like real mechanisms that make it work.
The wheel has but one material component in all of Eora. Something we built to channel essence through luminous Adra and into the beyond with reliable continuity.
And in the last one I said it's not a real thing. It is a real thing. It's just not in this world. It's in the beyond. And I hope I made that clear. So it is, again, suggesting that there is a physical thing here, but most of what makes it work is not actually here on Eora. It's in the beyond.
Before we intervened, the flow of essence was directionless, unpredictable. We succeeded in widening the gap, diverting it, giving it an efficient path to follow.
So souls seems would kind of reincarnate before these gods were here, but they found a way to make that process a little bit more efficient. Reincarnation existed before you, so why not just leave it alone?
Before we took control of the wheel, reincarnation was error-prone, lacking forward momentum. Hollowborn were fairly common, and hardly the worst of the soul maladies.
Hollowborn here, infant born without a soul, that was very important in the first game, the Hollowborn crisis in the Deerwood. But this is suggesting that that's not the first time that that happened.
Control gave us the power to strengthen the souls of intelligent kith over generations. We made you wiser, stronger, more likely to develop the society we thought you deserved. Every turning of the cycle demonstrated the righteousness of my belief. Nature begets chaos, and discipline begets perfection.
very Woedican there, who is a big proponent of order, even through an iron fist. How did the Inquisitors become gods?
At the height of our power, we recognized the potential of the soul. We knew that it could be bound, split apart, diverted like a river, and hammered together. Hammering was trivial. Those of us who agreed with the Apotheosis Project, and many who did not, submitted to a violent and horrible erasure of our individuality.
Okay. I'm going to look up apotheosis here. It is the highest point in the development of something, culmination or climax. So is this apotheosis project? It must be like the project to make this the reincarnation of souls more efficient, and also empower souls, because she was talking about that as well. An intelligent kith and strong souls can get stronger as time goes on.
After the dust settled, we adopted the forms of beings from Eora's most prevalent myths. There were other faiths and legends, but we labored to strike their names from history.
So then are the gods the like souls that have been reincarnated and improved so much that they are just as powerful as these gods are? That's what it seems like. We adopted the forms of beings from Eora's most prevalent myths. So they were inspired by myths that already existed. Oh. Okay. Quite a few things are going through my head here. One, last game we talked about how the gods were Inquisitor creations. When the Inquisitors searched for gods, they realized nothing was there, so they made their own. Is what Woedica is suggesting here saying that the Inquisitors did do that, but then through this reincarnation of souls, there were actual physical beings who then kind of inhabited the idea of what these gods were. So these gods are not actually the original gods. I think that's what she's suggesting, which is kind of huge. I wonder if we could have known that last game, or if this is new information from this game. The other thing that I want to point out here, I am recording this on June 15th, 2024. So this last week, Xbox and Microsoft and Obsidian, well, not just Obsidian, but all of Microsoft did like a little media blitz on upcoming games and stuff like that. But one of the things they focused on is the upcoming release of Avowed, which is the first-person game by Obsidian set in the world of Eora. It takes place shortly after the events of this game. And in one of the interviews, Carrie Patel, the lead designer of Avowed, talked about in the Living Lands where the game takes place, the ancient race of, she called them the Godless. And they were called the Godless because they worship a god that nobody recognizes, nobody else recognizes around the world. And here, Woedica says that there were other faiths and legends, but we labored to strike their names from history. So, is this deity of the Godless one of the names that the current gods struck from history? They just kind of deleted all references to the god that the Godless follow. I know it's weird to say they're godless, but they follow a god. They did follow a god. It's just that nobody recognizes whoever their god was as a god anymore. Okay, wow, that was really interesting. Back to my other questions.
Speak, Watcher. It isn't every day that I open myself to these communions, so spend your breath wisely.
The gods think my actions can prove their point about mortal society?
Prove it or disprove it, yes. I never agreed to this arrangement, But if your example demonstrates mortal ineptitude, as I trust it will, then I can make the plans serve me.
I want to read this again here. So basically she's banking on us to fail, and the gods will decide that they need to rule over Kith again.
An assertive minority of gods believe that your choices will prove the value of their wild optimism. As if mortal collaboration and ingenuity are endorsements of our leadership. Then there are those of us who know better, who are not so easily convinced.
I'd love to conjecture about which gods believe we can actually do this on our own and which are convinced that we will always fail and we need their help.
Kith are vulnerable, unless they submit to the destiny we chart for them. Thinking otherwise can only breed dissent and chaos.
Tell me about this enlightened society you once wanted.
It was an ambitious plan, our utopia. Perhaps too ambitious. We ascended to power, responding to a need inadequately satisfied. Assuming these roles gave us the authority to mold Eora over time, to influence you and lay the groundwork for a society yet to come. On the outset of the plan, some believed that mortals would outgrow us, as if that was a favorable outcome. To me, our eternal pantheon was always a critical fixture. Aethys was one of those who supported mortals, while I have always been their most vocal critic.
How would you have even recognized that ideal society?
A valid, self-defeating question, and one which I posed often. We assumed that they, whoever they were, would reveal themselves to us. Rational government would rule in our stead, leaving churches vacant. Thanks to Aethys, we're pulling the dough from the oven before it's had a chance to fully rise. You unfortunate bastards never had the chance to prove me wrong.
So Kith, I guess, were some kind of experiment of the gods. Why did the other gods tolerate your opposition?
Opposition can take many forms. If a church embraces and weaponizes my doctrine, that is very different from me rampaging as a titan.
And this was hinted at in the first game too, how gods, while they don't anymore anyway, physically intervene with the world of Kith, they do things that can subtly push them in one direction or another. Woedica seems to have been in the last game, and apparently here too, more in favor of more overt signs of power. But even she didn't just come here and start rampaging as a titan like Aethys is doing right now.
Aethys is not known for subtlety. Twice now, he has contaminated the purity of our experiment, and done so with extravagant displays that undermine our authority.
You call what Theos did subtle?
His approach was sophisticated, indirect. I owe you no explanations on the matter.
By sophisticated, indirect, it means he was doing things and then blaming it on other things. Case in point, he set the machines in motion that caused the Hollowborn crisis and allowed people to think it was the war with Rad Sarens, the war that ended with the Godhammer bomb, Widewind's legacy, and allowed them to think that it was because of the war against the god.
Besides, you are not worthy to speak his name. I am the counterpoint to the soft-hearted. It makes no difference if mortals pass some arbitrary test. My mind is settled on the matter. Regardless of my feelings, the timing of this crisis forces us to accelerate our schedule. Final judgment comes sooner than any of us would prefer.
So the experiment was meant to last a lot longer, but Aethys is racing to the finish line here. Doesn't this social engineering plan seem counterintuitive?
You mean gods crafting a godless world? Naturally. My siblings desire to influence mortals and steer them in a proper direction, even if that direction led to places we could not follow. I have no intention of being left behind. Society would unravel without its queen to impose strict order.
So she does recognize it's kind of weird that gods are testing humans to see if they need the gods, but Woedica doesn't really like that test. She is convinced that Kith need us, that the Kith need the gods. And I don't think she's convinced the Kith need the gods because she actually thinks the Kith needs the gods. I think she just likes power and order. What happens if someone proves you wrong?
If our pantheon found that mortals had cultivated a perfect, lawful system to maturity, I would not voice a word in protest. I would merely stand aside and await the inevitable collapse.
So she's trying to sound like she's being reasonable about this whole thing, but if all she's looking for is perfection, that's obviously a fool's game, and perfection is not going to happen. The counter argument there is, I mean, did the gods create something perfect? I don't think so. Like maybe the wheel of reincarnation is more efficient, but it's not perfect.
Mortals need us. I know this as well as I know myself. Even a lawful and responsible society would be poised to collapse as long as its architects and strongest adherents were mortal. Any satisfaction that my siblings derived from their little experiment would be short-lived, and it would fall to me to clean up after their mess.
So you're right even when you're wrong. Got it.
Make no mistake, Watcher. In this, I cannot be proven wrong.
And like I said, she set that up by demanding perfection from Kith, which, you know, is impossible. Back to my other questions.
You have learned much already. Only ask if you are ready for the truth.
Has your opinion of mortals changed at all?
Nothing you've done has tarnished it utterly beyond repair. You may congratulate yourself on that much, at least.
Close the book. We'll speak again.
Yes, I think we will. This is not the end of our discussion. You know how to find your way back to this place.
Woedica nods stiffly. You feel her presence drift as a breeze, rustling as it goes.
Okay. So the first place I wanted to go was Oathbinder's Sanctum. So let's set a course. There we are. So, I have already gone through this whole thing to the very bottom of the pyramid, so I'm probably just going to fast forward down there. So here we are on the 4th floor of Oathbinder's Sanctum. I feel like I may have stopped the recording instead of unpaused the recording before we came into the Oathbinder's Sanctum. All I said was that I'm just going to fast forward to the bottom floor of the pyramid because we have already been through this pyramid in an early session. So this is I believe anyway, the final floor of the Oathbinder's Sanctum, where we got into a fight that we couldn't quite handle that early in the game. Also, I just wanted to read the quest that is associated with this again. What's this? I wonder if that... I never saw that little exclamation point before. I wonder if that's just like a new quest or something like that. Okay, and I wanted to see if we could find the quest associated with Oswald, I think his name was. Yeah. So Khan has asked to help her to find Oswald, an old elf who owes her 5,000 coppers. So I spoke to this woman, Analis. She did seem nervous about something in her armoire. Oh, and there was a journal entry that was associated with that. I'm going to see if I can find that now. So I didn't find the note from Oswald yet, but I did find this. And this hints at why I wanted to do this today. As I mentioned before, the Avowed Story trailer dropped a little earlier this week. And in it, at the beginning of it, we hear from, well, actually, I think the entire thing, we hear from 3 different people about the Dream Scourge in the Living Lands. And all 3 of them have different ideas on how to stop it, what it is, that kind of thing. So we hear from the Fairkoning, which is like the emperor of the Aedir Empire. He basically just wants us to stop the Dream Scourge. And we also heard from one of our companions, Jada, who thinks that it's our job to become the Living Lands protector. And the second person we hear from is this person here, Inquisitor Lödwyn. I think Lödwyn, maybe. And she says that the Dream Scourge is a symptom of a larger rot within the land. And Inquisitor Lödwyn is Woedican, and we just heard from Woedica. And much like Woedica, she thinks she needs to cut out all the rot, basically. And then those that survive will be better for it. So very Woedican of her. And this is why I wanted to do this here, because I believe if we don't actually meet Lödwyn here, then we will at least be introduced to the people that follow her. So that is just a note. I believe we actually found that in this sanctum here. It says, dangerous creatures have made this sacred place their home. If it's Woedica's will they remain, it's not our place to disturb them. Further, remember that we are not here as looters. Anyone caught thieving will meet the Strangler's justice. Let Godwina's death be an example to you all. Okay, so there's that. And then I also want to try and find if Oswald's note here. I don't know if we'll be able to find it, though. Maybe it was just something that we read and not something that we have in our inventory. It was I thought we had a journal entry from Oswald, the person who we are looking for here. So, all that said, let's head on up.
Of course. By decree of the Queen that was and the will of the Steel Garrote, you will meet justice. Kneel, Oswald, and be tried for your crimes.
Wait! I can pay you. I can make you all rich. Just let me go.
Your bribes fall on deaf ears, Oathbreaker.
Need I remind you of what
only
happened
to
the
exact
last time
Woedica's
we interrupted
justice.
a trial?
What? But I didn't do anything.
You stand
As you enter the large chamber at the bottom of the pyramid, you notice a sizable group of well-armed people dressed in the raiments of the Steel Garrote. In the center of the group kneels a man, bound at the wrists. He looks around wildly. His eyes widen when they fall on you. Before the kneeling man towers an imposing woman, her face obscured by the severe lines of a Woedican mask. I was kind of interested in what they were actually saying, but also I didn't know if it would end in this guy getting killed, so I did want to intervene. If you saw the quest marker up there, it said either watch the proceedings play out or intervene, and I chose to intervene.
You intrude on the deliberations of the court of Woedica, outsider. Choose your next actions carefully, lest the queen that was turn her gaze to you as well.
Queen that was is Woedica, and like I said, this is Inquisitor Lödwyn, who again made an appearance in the Avowed Story trailer. The man on the floor is an elderly elf clad in dirty clothes, his face contorted in the expression of a cornered animal.
Oh, thank the gods, please! Get me out of here! They're mad! They're all mad! They mean to put me on trial for oath-breaking, of all things. They say I betrayed the Aediran Empire, but I haven't been back there in over 100 years.
Considering Woedica is known as the Oathbinder, we could see that oath-breaking is a very serious charge.
Be silent, or I will make you so.
The Inquisitor snarls at Oswald.
State your purpose now, or die with him.
She turns her steely gaze to you. Through the slits in her mask, you can just see the glint of her eyes. Do you condemn the innocent out of spite or mere incompetence? The Inquisitor bristles at your impertinent question. She grabs her sword hilt and begins to step forward, but stops herself, suddenly uncertain. Her followers share pointed looks with one another and say nothing to challenge or defend her.
Explain.
Leather creaks in the Inquisitor's hand, tightens on the hilt of her sword. I'm a watcher. I've conversed with the tortured souls that met your justice. Not all were guilty. A reminder, as we made our way through this in one of the first sessions, we talked to some of the people who had died here. We were able to see their past lives, and that's what this is a reference to here.
Ah, the Watcher of Cadnua graces our presence. Your deeds are well known to this court.
Her tone is dangerously short.
Those that attempt to lie to me find I am not easily fooled. Tell me, Watcher, how many of these souls do you claim were innocent?
I can lie and say a handful or too many to count, or I can be honest and say one, and that's what I'm going to do. She stares at you intently for several moments, her eyes as unreadable as the mask that hides her features.
Even should you speak truthfully, you must see the wisdom of these proceedings. Imagine the greater good achieved by dispensing the reckoning this filth deserves.
It seems like she's saying there that she knew one of them was innocent. She's not actually saying that, but she doesn't seem surprised by it. Like, if we had lied to her, she would have known that we were lying because she knew that there was only one. But still, that's messed up. And again, like so many despots, imagine the greater good achieved by dispensing the reckoning this filth deserves. The idea that it's okay if some innocents die as long as also some guilty die, and the remaining people are better off for it. And that's very much in line with what she says in the Avowed Story trailer, actually.
Would you prefer these monsters walk free at the expense of the truly innocent?
I don't know if oath-breaking makes him a monster.
And who holds them accountable for serving the greater good? Who ensures they do not become the same as those they hunt? Theos also believed he was an authority unto himself, and he wielded that authority to the detriment of many, many people.
I see only vigilante justice. Any mistake in your judgment proves my point.
You have no authority in the court of Woedica. Only the queen that was holds sway here. I pray your soul learns from your mistakes on its next turn about the wheel.
Alright, so they're attacking us.
Yeah!
There's a one!
That looks...
I'll light the darkness.
Lava beyond
This seems a lot easier than last time. There goes Lödwyn. Okay, so that was Lödwyn there. I can't think I'm the only person where that happened to. So we know that Lödwyn is around in the Deadfire. I think they said that it's going to take place shortly after this game, which means that in a lot of people's games, Lödwyn would be dead. I wonder if Lödwyn is just considered to have canonically made it through this here, or does Woedica bring her back to life? We've seen her do that with Theos, probably others, so I wonder if Lödwyn is important enough to Woedica to allow that soul to come back. We have the Cowl of the Piercing Gaze. I'm going to guess this is Lödwyn's cowl. It gives us +1 perception, +1 religion, +1 insight. This mask, bearing the severe visage of Woedica, once belonged to the great Adran theorist of justice, Ephra Swordfall, known by her contemporaries as the Iron-Fisted Philosopher. It was forged of ore, harvested by debtors and penitents, wow, in the vast corrective pit mines of the Adran Empire. And a fine sword. The Many Faces of Bareth, we've read that book. Scroll of Kalikoth's Minor Blights.
Sure thing.
And here's Oswald.
I owe you a debt too large to repay, stranger.
He wrings his hand and gives you a shaky smile.
How did you ever find me all the way out here? Did Inalis send you?
I wonder why I can't say yeah. I mean, she did send me. Unless... I wonder if, because I have been down to this floor before I went to Nekataka, that's what it's reading? I'm just gonna shrug.
Whether by providence or chance, I thank the gods you found me when you did.
But I was able to say something about, to Lödwyn, I was able to say something about how he owed somebody money, so that was odd.
Those Steel Garrote zealots have been after me for decades. Good riddance.
Now that you're safe, I should be off.
Wait! Don't just leave me here. How am I supposed to get off this cursed island without a boat? Maybe I could join your crew?
Oh, fine. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, my friend. I owe you a debt twice over.
He gives you a toothy grin and stands a hand's breadth taller. So I'll have to check and see what he's experienced at. Oh. Still wondering what this symbol on the wall is here. See it all over the place. Is it Adra? The statue decorating the small shrine has been dusted and polished to a shine. Sorry if you can hear me banging on the desk there. I think we've already... Yeah, okay. Alright, so what can Oswald do? Navigate? Where's the navigator go? put Worthless Idiot away. Bring Oswald out here. Okay. Alright, what's next? Alright, these are in the gullet. So I do need to return to the Wild Mare. Another one in the gullet. Another one in the gullet. We do need to return there because I want to go to Old City as well. I could take Xoti back to the Luminous Adra Pillar at Port Mage. It's also in the gullet, excuse me. Yeah, this is what I want to do next, I think. Hasongo, a Dawnstar we met seemed to think Alafa had settled in Hasongo with her son. Oh, that is Dare's quest there. Okay. So what should we do first then? There's Hasongo. You know, first I'm going to go to the Inquisitor dig site at Port Mage. So that Xoti can unload her souls there. Oh, I guess we have low rations. Actually, I could just... So I'm going to give that rice. I also have a bunch of hardtack, but hardtack is bad for morale. And I think... Yeah, I actually have to come from here. See Aethys's footsteps here. Oh. Those the people that were here last time, or did they send more people here? Oh man, I'm gonna forget which one I have to go into here. I think it's this one, the arena sub-level. Yep, okay.
This luminous Adra ought to be able to take my souls, Watcher. What do you say?
Let's try it. A gleaming pillar of luminous Adra towers above you as Xoti stomps confidently towards its base, a grin ripping wide over her face.
Get ready to witness the feat of a lifetime, Watcher. I'm about to do God's good work, to single-handedly shepherd a multitude of souls straight into the depths of hell.
Sounds way worse if you consider hell the way we think of it on Earth, but that's not as bad as it sounds. She rubs her hands together, drubs her palms against her hips, and snatches up her lantern, eager. Ready? She wriggles her shoulders and pops her neck, stance subtly widening. Say nothing. After a moment, Xoti blows out a slow breath and her lantern begins to pulse in an increasingly brighter and harsher glow.
All right, Soul Flock. Give my regards to the afterlife. And get born again soon.
As she exhales those last words, she presses one palm flat to the cold expanse of the gem-like growth, fingers trembling, and like a firework going off, the light from her lantern flares blindingly bright. Electricity. No. Hypercharged soul energy whips across the air, lashing open Xoti's skin, traveling the pathway of 1,000 branching veins and capillaries. The strike bursts Xoti bloody from face to neck to arms and lower, and she screams, her voice a secondary crack across the sky. Xoti was injured. So I can tell her to release the souls, I can stop and keep them for yourself, or break the connection. I'm going to tell her to release the souls.
I can't! Watcher, I can't do it! Stop me!
Her words choke off as she drops to her knees and throws her head back. Her hair floats from her shoulders and wisps around her, charged and popping in the air. Sweating, shaking, bleeding, Xoti struggles to tear herself from the charged Adra. As she falls back with a scream, a wave of souls is ripped from the Adra and absorbed straight into her lantern. So the opposite happened. Jeez. The Adra cracks, and a shard falls to the ground.
Ugh, son of a god's darn motherless cur! That hurt worse than a back-to-back whooping from Uncle Angbert's quarterstaff. Thank God I'll never, ever be doing that again.
Chest heaving, Xoti scrabbles for the Adra shard embedded in the ground. The crystal slick with blood from her palm. She shoves it into her pocket. Then she shakes her head. You have gained a quest item, Luminous Adra Mantle. The item was put into your stash. This small shard of luminous Adra glows with soul energy. Though obviously shorn from a larger piece, it has the appearance of being tooled, as though for a specific purpose. Perhaps it could be used to improve upon Xoti's lantern.
Good God. I feel so very much.
Shuddering slightly, Xoti raises her sickle to lick the back curve of her blade. Doing any better?
How couldn't I be?
She tips her head back and takes a deep breath. So even though that really hurt her, it still made her feel better in the end.
I can feel it prickling under my skin. I've strived to do God's will ever since I was a little girl. Huddling in the back of the barn, bathed in darkness.
I said it was the opposite and absorbs straight into her lantern. As she falls back with a scream, is ripped from the Adra and absorbs straight into her lantern. Huh.
I just never knew reaping could feel so good. Look at my lantern shine, Watcher. Beautiful as a harvest moon dripping red with blood.
Her lips twist with a dark grimace. After a curt nod, she slides away. So let me see. Okay, it says Xoti chose to absorb the lantern's soul harvest. I'm going to have to look and see what actually happened there, because I thought it said that they went back into her lantern, but I thought she was trying to get rid of them. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on exactly what happened there. And because we have this Adra, we can give her lantern the Threshing Aura, which increases all damage output for nearby allies. Damage increases with the wielder's religion skill. We don't have enough money for that right now, but as soon as we get 3 grand, which we're close to, then I will make sure to upgrade Xoti's lantern. All right. So I think that might be the end of Xoti's quest. Happened pretty quickly. Like I said, I'll have to, maybe off camera, I'll look into the wiki a little bit and see if I can figure out exactly what happened there, because you see her hunched over here. She's injured. Because it sounded to me like I thought she was trying to unload the souls from her lantern, but she just absorbed the souls from the Adra into her lantern, and she was very happy about that, and she said it felt really good. So, yeah, I'm I'm a little bit confused as to what just happened. But like I said, I'll try to do some off-camera research and figure that out. So, let's go to the inn here. Take a rest. And then we'll head off to Hasongo for Adra's quest.
Didn't think you'd come back here. Don't tell me you wrecked your ship again.
Like a room, please? Head out.
Do I hear a tavern? That's the right island to get marooned on.
Oh. We've been here before, Adra. Leave by sea. So next stop, Hasongo. Maybe some episode I'll... Oop. Something new here. Maybe some episode I will spend some time just kind of revealing this map. I love doing that. I love like filling in all the blanks and stuff like that, but I don't know if it would make a riveting watch, so maybe I'll like dedicate an episode to doing a lot of that. And if you want to watch, then you can. If not, then I'll just kind of label that as a, you know, non-essential viewing. The farming fields around this village are barren and sunbaked. Its small orchard of kwiki trees is dry, their fruits shriveled like raisins. As you approach the village, you find it empty, a fine dust having long settled on every surface. So sometimes Huana will abandon their villages and go somewhere else, and they kind of just see that as part of a cycle. This might be one of those villages. Got fire kelp. Got palm stone. It's like a coconut. Removing the stringy husk reveals a wooden nut about the size and shape of a cannonball. Cracking the shell exposes tender white flesh and a well of tangy juice. The prize is well worth the labor. Palm stone is quite tasty, though overconsumption can lead to digestive distress. Overconsumption. Okay. Cloak of the Theocrat. Gives us +1 intellect and +1 resolve. And just a basic cloak description there. Deadeye. It's a drug. A peculiar concoction widely used by spearfishers, Deadeye focuses vision and steadies one's aim. This pale fluid is administered in small drops directly to the eyes. The immediate effects are remarkable, and the drug itself is not known to be addictive, though it does cause disorientation and vision problems for some after use. So it seems like it's for snipers. Makes me think of that scene in Metal Gear Solid where you had to fight against the sniper boss, Sniper Wolf, and before you could actually have any kind of chance against her, you had to find a drug to steady your aim. Got more palm stone, and that's it. There's actually a lot of stuff there. Stop by here. You come upon a flight of wide steps that descends deep into the earth. Chill air radiates from a dark doorway at the bottom of the stairs. It smells faintly of dust and cold stone. Scoria? Azada Nui shell? That's currency. That's it. As you travel northwest, maybe it's from Port Mage. As you travel northwest, you discover a broad channel separating you from a flat expanse of a sandy islet. The wooden bridge spans the waterway, easily wide enough to accommodate a cart and a horse. A crowd throngs the bridge, an eclectic menagerie of clean-coated Valians, Aumau in bright and colorful robes, and even the odd Orlan. Down the hill, by the water's edge, a small cluster of Aumau have gathered. Approach the Aumau near the water. From the shore, you see the channel's current seems significantly stronger than it had from afar, perhaps fed by the recent storms. The Huana gathered here, garbed in thin robes and little else, watch as you approach. One steps forward, her own gown in far brighter colors than those around her. She cants her head to the side. You look bedraggled, stranger, as if the sea spat you out of our shore. What for you come here? To watch? What's this all about? The arc of her hand describes first the swimmers, then the waters, then the islet on the other side. They challenge the Osa Channel. The rains fell and the waters run swift. They must swim faster yet. For each who finishes, there is honor. For the one who wins, there is more. Examine the competitors. That is a perception and insight check. That'd be a watcher thing. Success, nice. The largest of them, a bald woman, is all muscle. She'd be menacing in a fight, but in the water, the bulk might slow her down. One of them, a man with tightly curled blonde hair, combines lean muscle with a compact frame. As he stretches, he watches the water as if it were an old friend. You doubt that a third gangly teen should even be here. A light wind might carry him away. So those are the three competitors, I guess. Who stands the best chance of winning? She chuckles, a hand flat upon her stomach. The one Ngati favors, as sure as the tide. But you miss her glance towards the wiry blonde Aumau, the one that we thought would win. I'd like to join the race. Several of the gathered Huana chuckle. The woman merely smiles, bowing her head slightly. Challenging, Osa. It is always done by Aumau to prove strength and stamina in the water. I stay afraid it may be too much for another kith. I thought the Huana were traditionally a welcoming people. She bows her head. Then what welcome would we provide if we fed our guests unknowing to Ngati? When her gaze returns to you, she bears a small smile. But you are not unknowing, I say. She nods and motions you towards the channel. Then go join the others at the water's edge. Leave your clothes upon the rocks, and they will warm you after. I have to get naked for this? She shrugs, the faintest hint of a grin twisting lips. We require nothing. I'll strip down. You shrug off your brine-crusted clothes and lay your belongings on the rocks. My watcher, you sure are. I mean, well, that's, good luck. Red-faced, Xoti clears her throat behind her fist, but she doesn't break her stare. You spring off the stone and crash into the cool, crisp salt water with the other swimmers. As hard as you kick and pull, the current pushes back with the strength of a bear. You keep pace with the Huana, though your muscles burn with the effort. This is a partial success. One of the Huana, you notice, struggles to remain in the pact. No, he's struggling just to stay above the water. His desperate grasps carry down the channel. I know this is probably just a stock art here, but you notice that he's wearing a breastplate and a helmet, which looks kind of funny for someone who's supposedly swimming across a channel and now drowning. Help him to the shore. You wrap your arm around the struggling swimmer, and he has the wherewithal not to struggle against you as you swim him towards land. You pull yourself onto the rocky shore and help him up behind you. The large bald woman pulls ahead and reaches the goal first. The crowd roars as she walks into the far shore, fists raised victoriously. The young swimmer squeezes your arm. Many thanks, Akira. Moderate positive reputation gained with the Huana. The crowd on the bridge thins and the commotion dies down. Your journey continues. So I didn't win, but I did help somebody. It's a small fishing village. Oh, you can just trade with us. And I have 3,000 now. So I'm going to upgrade Xoti's lantern with Threshing Aura. I don't think there's anything there's not. Alright, maybe we'll get to Hasongo now? Let's see. Ooh, a derelict Valiant ship. Badal points at the ship in the distance. Galleon, Captain. A three-master. Or it was. Naught remains of the ship's foremast save a splintered stump, and the bowsprit has been sheared off. And the bowsprit. See how they crippled her? That's the work of pirates. Principe, most like, and probably the upstarts if they're raiding this close to Valiant patrol routes. Chitapek leans in close. They'll have taken any gold, but they might have left supplies. Arena's brow is damp with sweat. We shouldn't stick around. If the Valians see us plundering one of their ships, they won't give us a chance to explain. I'm going to use the spyglass. A red flag with scales and stars, the emblem of the Valiant Trading Company, flaps from the main mast. I'm hardly enthusiastic about plundering a Valiant ship, but if we do not take their cargo, someone else will. She surveys the ship with a scowl and shakes her feathered head. I think that was Pelagina, but it didn't actually say that there. Let's salvage what's left. Ooh, failure. You take on a small boarding party and scour the galleon. Most of its cargo and all of its crew are missing, but you do find several barrels of fresh water and a few sacks of dried rice and coarse meal. It takes your unseasoned hands the better part of the day to finish hauling it aboard. You got rice, hardtack, and water. You're still aboard the galleon when Badal calls out a warning. A ship with the lines of Valiant privateers speeding toward you. The crew aboard the Defiant scurry across the deck, readying the ship for combat. By the time you've returned your ship, hauled in the anchor, and let out the sails, the privateer is almost upon you. The crew rushes to their battle stations. Oh, boo. I didn't want to fight the Valiant Trading Company here. Let's attempt retreat. Success. I lost 10 morale for fleeing from inferior opponents there, but that was because I didn't want to kill some Valians. Not because I didn't think I could beat them. What's this? Unaffiliated trade ship. Getting closer to Hasongo. Another abandoned village. A ring of minor deflection. Peridot. That's a Huana ship. And here's Hasongo here. Alright, it's telling us to reach the Adra Lighthouse at the western end of the fort. And we can see that something bad happened here already. There's a dead body in the upper part of the screen.
I don't get this at all. There was a Dawnstar settlement on Hasongo.
Adra kicks a few splinters of shattered wood strewn across the path.
The place got trampled just the same.
It doesn't seem to matter who he hurts. He does as he pleases.
This is Woedica all over again. Only now we know it really is Aethys behind it. I'll tell you one thing. When we catch up to that unstoppable god statue, me and him are gonna have words. Lava better be alright.
Just as a reminder here, this is Adra's character quest. I'm just looking for it in the journal here. Where is it? Oh, there it is. The lighted path. This is someone, we're looking for Alava, who knew Adra at some point during their life, and they had a relationship together. And he thinks that possibly she has a son that might be his. So when he said Alava, that's who he's looking for. And this is who we are looking for here. And it looks
easy to follow. Headed right for the lighthouse.
We see some Nagas up here. And it looks like Aethys has been here. We see the telltale footprints. And also some Naga here. This is a Coral Naga warrior.
I'm no help here. Yeah. That hit true.
Got Coral Naga sword. The great sword is renowned for its ability to cause deadly wounds even against terrible beasts. Though it is a relatively slow weapon and requires the use of both hands, it is truly devastating when used by a skilled warrior. The Naga have kind of been in constant conflict with the Royal Deadfire Company. It seems like they at least existed along... Oop. They just come out of the water, I guess. It seems like they existed alongside the Huana for a little while. Not that they were friends or anything, but I think they could coexist peacefully. But when the Royal Deadfire Company started coming in here, that changed, and the Royal Deadfire Company just and the Naga just got into fights over territory. And I have to say, the Royal Deadfire Company was definitely encroaching on their territory. The Naga were the indigenous race of the land. We got a dead Naga in the water here. A ripe stench wasps from the boats. A corpse is pinned behind them. Oh, you know what else? We probably have a bestiary entry on the Naga. I guess they're... No, wilder? Yes. It says, Nagas are a species of large, intelligent reptile. Though they bear some humanoid characteristics, that is where the comparison ends. The society is complex enough to make interactions with other kiss a possibility, but the Naga have never entertained cooperation as a viable alternative to violence. Naga adhere to a strict religious doctrine that mirrors the wheel in many aspects, though focuses prominently on the Naga's superiority above all other creatures. Within Naga society, they divide up individual roles around a mixture of born traits, cunning, and ambition. Naga possessing few talents above the ability to grip a sword are considered consigned to the warrior class. The most venomous and keen-eyed Naga are trained as skirmishers and elite commanders. The spiritual and intellectual Naga are either instructed into the role of shaman or fight their way into it, likely spending much of their career defending this status against competitors. So it seems like the role of shaman is very much desired. Naga society. Okay, so we see here, yeah, so Aethys is not just stepping on people that causes them to die. We see here that he's also kind of harvesting their souls as they walk by him. This is the same thing we saw in the Deerwood when Theos was using the machines to gather souls. They are nothing but basically dust that fall apart at the slightest touch, and we see a couple people here that were pointing their guns at Aethys. This one, I thought it was pointing, but it looks like maybe they had a pistol that they were pointing at him. So I don't know if he did that in response to being shot or if he was just going to take their souls anyway. My guess would be the latter.
What I wouldn't do for a mongoose right about now.
This is just that there's a bunch of Naga over there that updated the journal. An Amao woman whirls toward you, and her eyes wide and wild. Her uniform is disheveled, as if from several days' wear, and her breath comes in rapid gasps. With her, a few wounded soldiers and a huddle of commoners in dirt-stained farmer smocks.
Shut the door, quick, before the Naga get in.
This woman's name is Zahira. It's already closed, but her glazed eyes seem to be staring beyond it. The soldiers look up too. Their faces are drawn with pain and exhaustion, their eyes rimmed red and gray. It's all right. I'm here to help.
We're the finest soldiers and cannoneers in Aora. We don't need anything.
Her hand starts to tremble at her side. There's something unusual about her brittle confidence, distant stare, and shaking hand. You can read the signs. Whatever she saw here has rattled her to her core.
She is battle-rattled. I believe that is what the Adirans call it. It happens to all soldiers sooner or later. Sometimes you leave the fight, but it doesn't leave you.
Lips pursed, Palagina cranes her head to peer into Zahira's eyes. She blinks at you, as if seeing you for the first time.
Wait, you're not the reinforcements. There are supposed to be reinforcements.
A tide of panic rising behind her eyes. Calm down, and tell me what happened here. She closes her eyes, but her hands are still shaking.
The first thing was the Colossus. It showed up a few days ago, a week ago, I can't be sure. But it was huge. Glowed like luminous Adra.
Her eyes start to glaze over again. She stares into the distance, her mouth slightly open. Her wounded companion, meanwhile, is staring suspiciously at the farmers. They shrink from his gaze. You're here. You're safe. She shakes her head, almost as if she didn't hear you.
The Colossus was coming right for us. Fleetmaster Ko ordered the gunhawks and cannoneers to take up positions.
She catches herself, breaking off with an ashamed grimace.
They fought. The rest of us were sent below, like cowards.
She looks down at her hands, which she's balled into trembling fists. If you'd fought, you'd be dead too.
We don't flee. We don't hide.
She doesn't look at you as she speaks. She steels herself.
I heard cannon blasts, artillery fire. Felt the world shake. Then the water started coming in. We came back up, and the others were I don't know. Like they'd been turned to ash. And the Colossus was walking away. The fort was flooding, where it had broken our walls, and the luminous Adra in the lighthouse had gone dark.
Where's the lighthouse?
On the western side of the fort. It's a true marvel, a monument to Rauatayan engineering.
Proof we can tame and transform this place, once we get rid of the scale bellies.
Scale bellies?
The Naga.
Her hand starts to tremble again. She tries to cover it with the other.
They skulked in after, once our walls were down.
He scowls.
Those of us who were left fought, but those cowards moved through the sunken hallways, ambushed us from below.
So we see here this as the cadence of a slur, this scale belly here. And those of you who survived ended up here. Both Zahira and the angry soldier look away in shame.
Those snakes are little more than animals. No match for trained Rauatayan warriors.
He snorts.
When the Hasonui's reinforcements get here, we'll strike back.
He trails off, his gaze distant at the scenarios of bloody vengeance no doubt playing in his mind's eye.
And build our walls back up so nothing gets through. And double our cannons, so we can destroy that Colossus if it ever comes back.
These farmers. It says, what do you have against these farmers? Are they talking? Would that be the Naga? The Colossus that marched through here was Aethys.
That monster that killed our people?
I suppose he does look like a monster from down here.
I told you, Zahira. The Godhammer scrambled their god, and now he's taking his revenge.
The soldier looks pointedly at the huddled farmers. They looked away, cheeks flushed and brows perspiring. I don't know that I've said anything about it. I probably have, but just as a reminder, the Godhammer is a reference to the Godhammer bomb, which ended the St. Weidwyn's War. It killed St. Weidwyn and was also thought to have killed Aethys for a little while. Obviously, he's come back to life.
Our gods are above petty motivations like revenge. No, Gon's got a bigger plan for you and me.
We're aware of his atrocities.
It's no coincidence your Aethys shows up just as Latharn storms out.
He casts a poisonous glare at the farmers. Oh, so these are the farmers over here that they were talking about. Who's Latharn, and what do you have against these farmers?
Dawn stars.
Ah. He coughs a wad of bloody phlegm onto the floor.
Fleetmaster Co. hired them to tend the fields that supply the mainland, but they started acting strange, dreaming strange.
You mean dreaming of things to come?
One of them, Latharn, had a row with the Fleetmaster over it, left angry just before the Colossus showed up.
Zahira and the soldiers glare at the farmers, as if this explains everything. So they think Latharn somehow summoned Aethys. They're stuck here too, and they're obviously scared. Be kinder to them. Zahira seems to consider your words, but the wounded soldier shakes his head.
I think their praying called it here, getting back at us for the Godhammer. Even if not, they definitely know something.
He practically spits at the farmers.
Spitting at our god? You ought to fear for the future of your soul.
Adair points affably in approval.
Is there anything else?
She stares at you with wide, blank eyes. This is a fortress. Surely you've got some way of fighting the Naga. She bristles.
The finest cannons and bombards in the archipelago. Why, you can barely walk the ramparts without...
As she remembers the destruction outside, her indignation fades away, and that distant look returns to her eyes.
There's still one. There must be one. They can't all have been destroyed. But you'll need a trained artillerist to aim it.
She nods, pulling herself back from the brink of panic. Probably should have asked this. Who are you?
Zahira, assistant quartermaster.
She crosses her arms over her chest in a perfunctory salute.
Don't go back out there. You'll be safe here until reinforcements arrive.
Her throat makes a dry clicking sound as she swallows.
Just stay away from the water. Damn scale bellies are hiding down there. They'll ambush if you get close.
Sometimes you can see them, if you look carefully.
She stares off again, gazing at nothing. Yeah, that's already happened to us. Okay, and I was also reminded that we are not just here for Adra. We are also here for the Royal Deadfire Company. Looking for a distant light. Oh, this is the hunt for Aethys. Okay. It says the Royal Deadfire Company built a lighthouse around luminous Adra. Okay. Perhaps that's what Aethys was headed toward when I connected with him at Port Mage. If I can reach the lighthouse, I might be able to speak to Aethys again. The Adra lighthouse is on the western end of the fort, and I spotted some Nurka lurking in the middle of the fort. There might be a way around them. So here I mentioned that there might be an intact bombard along one of the outer walls, and one of the soldiers warned me Naga may ambush me if I get close to the water. So this is actually part of the critical path. It's not just here for Adra. Copper leaf and rice, and a grenade. And give that grenade to Aloth. I don't know if his explosives make him better at throwing explosives, but I have been working on that skill for him, so just want to kind of give it a try. If I can find it. Here it is.
We got trouble, folks.
Sorry, friend.
Perfecto.
Thought that these would explode, but they're just barrels.
I think that's beyond me.
Lava. Beyond sick.
Moe.
Stand together. Lava rule beyond sick.
It dominated this one, so.
Ain't you got the decency to die?
Got Crawl Naga bows, so their weapons are all fine. A reptilian eye. This eye, split by a slit pupil, seems to stare hungrily at you, even in death. We got some Azada Nui shells and some scales, and cave coral.
At once.
Nope. Didn't get everything here. Coral Naga sword, and another bow. A heavy brass bombard is perched atop the wall, pointing out at sea. From here you have a commanding view of the flooded fortress. Check for ammunition. The bombard itself is not loaded, and you don't see any ammunition for it nearby. If anybody knows how to load this thing, it'd be that nervous lady. I don't know who said that. The bombard continues its lonely vigil. Turn the bombard toward the cluster of Naga. You try, but it's stuck. Looking down, you notice the gears attached to the rotating platform are rusted. Alright, so we need cannonballs, and we need some kind of oil to move this again. Examine the rotating platform. The gears at its base are rusted stuck. Oh, okay. That's just the same thing. All right. I could try to shove it, but first I'm going to, since I have to look for cannons anyway, I'm going to first also look for some kind of oil. You always see here, since I upgraded Xoti's lantern, everybody gets +3 damage that's standing next to her. Warrior and archer. See, here are the explosive barrels.
You see that?
Where's the trap?
Xoti!
Huh. Alright, so, wow, that was exciting. So it looks like Adra and Xoti both went down, but everyone else was actually able to survive that. That was fun. This is the Artillerist's Manual. When taking aim, the artillerist must account for both the distance of the target and the velocity of the wind. What follows is a series of diagrams specifying the ideal firing angles for targets at various ranges. So that'll probably help us aim that cannon outside. A distant light. Okay. The debris is charred and blackened with spent gunpowder. Why is she doing it?
Happily. Absolutely.
The crates smell musty. Peering inside, you see they're full of black powder. We have a Naga soul over here. Looks like this is barricaded, though. A fine arquebus. Yeah, I can't make it over there yet. Should probably rest. I got wounded in that explosion. You wake in the middle of the night to find Xoti peering down at you, sickle in hand. She smiles slow. The glow from her lantern has blanketed half of her face in shadow.
Watcher, my eyes see a monster in you. A real nightmare. You put the fear of gone in me, when I thought I was already well afraid. Tell me, am I dreaming now?
You're not dreaming, Xoti.
How can the whole world go dark and it not be a nightmare? What you did to me, will it be enough? Can Eora find its redemption? Or are we all just dead and don't know it yet?
She tilts her head to the side, concern flickering in her eyes.
Only light around is my lantern.
That was weird. An entire section of the wall has been smashed, leaving a chasm of jagged rubble below. Broken planks and battlements jut from the opposite side. I'm going to throw a grappling hook across the gap. Make Adra do that. Success. Adra hurls the grappling hook at the broken wall. It catches securely on the parapet. So now we can cross that. Let's do a little bit more of exploring down here before we do that, though. I think if we go down this path, that's where that group of Naga is, yes. So we don't want to go down there yet.
There.
This is, it looks like they have some kind of totem here.
Up ahead. That's no use.
That's it.
So what do we have? A Stormblade, and we have a Coral Naga Shaman over here.
No one noticed me, right?
And this is just Coral Naga Totem.
Glory be to God!
What's that doing to us? I don't know. I wonder if it's summoning these blights.
Stand together. Lava beyond seek. Nothing I can do.
Perfecto.
Lava beyond seek. Of course.
Just realized that Bjartur was using a crossbow. Is that what I want him to be using? No.
Yes?
At least I don't think so.
Hmm? Of course.
There.
Got a looter over here. We don't even get a chance to talk to him first, huh?
Up ahead.
No one noticed me.
Ooh. Okay. There's a wizard back there.
I can't do it.
Nope, didn't work.
Can't make a dent.
Merla, I was almost finished. Merla,
We're dropping like flies.
Tentacles are messing me up.
Great birth awaits me.
I'm having some trouble moving through this.
Great birth awaits me.
There's a very well-equipped band of looters here.
Come on. Lava beyond seek.
I was not expecting that to be as difficult as it was, which is why Palgina and Xoti both died there. Or were knocked out, anyway.
Indeed.
Good thinking.
Black powder, now soggy, clumps inside the crate. Thief's putty. I wonder if that was because there was a grappling hook in there. I wonder if that that's there just in case you don't have one to throw across here. Got salt and cooking fat. This is a quest item. Jars full of pale, greasy lard. It smells like it's going rancid. I'm gonna guess I can use that to, yeah. Found some cooking fat that might loosen up the rusted gears, so we'll be able to actually aim the cannon out there. Oh. I don't know what the point of this is then. The stairs descend into a flooded hallway. The water is clear, and the passage seems to continue for quite a ways. Swim into the passage. As the passage begins to go dim and the water cloudy, you reach an intersection where the walls are spiderwebbed with cracks. The hall continues to the left and the right. The way on the left is dark. There's a faint glow on your right, but still, dark shapes obstruct the passage. I'm gonna try to orient myself in the passage. Your finely honed sense of direction tells you that the hall to the right leads west, while the route to the left seems to bend southeast, back towards the docks. Well, I think I can go other places, so let's go left first. The hallway curves around until you reach a door. It's swollen with water and stuck in place. You give it a cursory tug, but it'll take more effort to pull it open. Going to use a pry bar. You wedge the pry bar into the door jamb and, bracing your feet against the ceiling, push all your weight into it. The door pops open, revealing stairs to the surface. You swim up. Okay, so this is where that Naga soul is. You feel the presence of a soul, twisting and sinuous. It notices you too and draws near. Its restless essence tingles against your own. It is searching, hunting. You recognize it as the soul of a Naga.
What is this? Come closer. You glow so brightly, just like
The soul recoils from a memory of violence, like a child snatching her hand from a hot stove. What were you searching for?
away.
A memory blooms at her core. A burst of vehemence shudders through her essence.
The striped fiends profane the island, endlessly burrowing, building. They bury the Adra under stone.
I'm gonna guess the striped fiends are the Aumaua of the Royal Deadfire Company, or Rauatai, and it says they bury the Adra under stone, so that stone would be the lighthouse, which underneath it has luminous Adra.
Sugan says we must find a way in. Sugan says I must find a way in.
There's warmth in this thought. Pride. Who is Sugan?
Speaker for the gods. Grandfather to many. He leads us here. And here I must find a way in. The fiends gather at the walls, searching too. Not for me, but they see me still.
You feel a prickle of sympathetic pain as if pierced by a volley of bullets. Come with me. Actually, I'm gonna tell her she died first.
No, not dead. Still searching.
A desperate, dissonant ripple thrums through the Naga's soul.
Stay a little longer. Your glow is a comfort here.
Come with me.
It is too dark. I will lose my way, or be swallowed by the terrible walker.
Fear shivers through her. What are you looking for now?
A way, I said. A glowing, shining way.
As she speaks, you feel yourself pulled into her memory and into the dark abyss of the in-between. You remember it from your own brief sojourn there. Yet from the darkness you, and Yanas, See a bright rift. Yanas must be the Naga's name. A pillar with roots that seem to reach into the heart of the world. You recognize this as an Adra pillar.
The way glows like an anglerfish lure, but it feels safe.
It does. You are drawn to it.
I will follow the way, I think. But then I see another glowing thing. This one does not feel safe.
Another glowing figure appears, this one shaped like an enormous walker. 3 stars burn above its brow. You feel Yanas fear this walker thing, even as you recognize it as Aethys. You watch as the glowing figure approaches the pillar. It reaches out and a violent current rips through the darkness. You hear a chorus of screams, but they sound distant and distorted, as if coming from underwater. Light and energy flow into the strange being from the pillar and from 100 points gathered around it. At last, the pillar is dark. The glowing walker recedes, brighter than before. Everything is dark.
Now, there is no way and no light. I am afraid.
So that's why she doesn't want to come with us, because the Adra has grown dim. She can't see in the in-between. So if we restore the Adra pillar, then she will be able to come with us. I'll restore the Adra pillar, then you can continue on your way.
The way? I am searching for a way. Show me.
She melts into the ether and becomes a quiet presence beside you. Okay. Back into the water. So I can just swim back to the kitchen here. Now let's go right. See what happens if we go right. You pull yourself past the corner and into a labyrinth of carnage. Debris from half-collapsed walls and shattered barricades clogs the wall. Corpses, weighed down by armor and bloated with decay, bob and hover over the open spaces. You kick off the rubble to propel yourself forward. Even so, the way forward is more taxing than you'd initially thought. Swim onward. Partial success, yeah, figured that. You press on, and by the time you have a chance to regret that decision, you're too far ahead to turn back. Your vision begins to darken. You pull and kick your way ahead, ignoring your burning limbs and focusing everything on the rapidly fading light. Just when you think you can hold your breath no longer, you see a light on the right and break to the surface, your abused body trembling. And I was injured. It's like I'm just fatigued. As in, Bjarter was injured. Oh, here it is. Yeah, we're gonna have to rest after we're done doing all this. A cold, stiff hand protrudes from the rubble. Tarloaf and poultry. Looks like naan. I don't know if I've said that before. We have a luminous lobster, which is an ingredient. These crustaceans amble around the ocean floor, eating the leavings of other creatures. Largely disregarded by the locals, their meat is highly coveted by foreigners, and it falls to local spearfishers and trappers to meet the growing demand. The most desirable specimens, like this one, have grown large and sweet from their proximity to the luminous Adra. Consuming their meat steadies the nerves, and increases the focus. It sounds tasty. Luminous lobster. Oh, this is just across the way here. So I wonder if that's a way to skip that fight then. Fine greatsword, exceptional medium shield. Wow. Like the last one, we see some people loading weapons, pointing and shooting weapons. Looks like they're all firing at Aethys as he walked by, stomped by. I wonder if there's just a way around the Naga so we don't actually have to kill them.
Hey.
I wonder if these are going to explode. Yep. So maybe we'll do that. Just gonna try and get the cannon working again, but maybe if this is just a way around. Loose masonry mars the southern wall of the gatehouse. Some of the protruding bricks look prominent enough to climb, yet the stonework feels slick with sea spray and slime moss. You estimate a difficult climb and a dangerous fall. Gonna use a rope and grappling hook. I don't suppose that will be especially quiet. Alof scans the walkway around you and eerily still water behind you. So we might get attacked if we do this. The grappling hook lands with a loud clang. No sooner have you pulled it tight than you hear splashing and hissing behind you.
I can hold out.
Oh. Why did he go down so quick? Man.
All right.
Right. Time to rest. Climb the rope. Oh, there's a lonely cat on top of the White House. The real reason to go up there.
I shall be discreet.
There's Bjartra back there. You remember the feat that made these stomping across Cadnua.
lantern.
Might be a fight here. Maybe not. Got a fine pistol and a letter from Lotharn. Lotharn was the leader of the farmers, I think. This letter is written in a small, meticulous hand. Co. You know I've never been one for superstition, but I'm telling you, there's something to these dreams. Couldn't tell you what they mean, only that they wake me 3 times a night. All of us working your farms, pious Aethasians to a man, are having them too. I've got no mind to tell you how to run your fort, but I've got to look after my brethren here. We left homes and families back in Raed Saris, and now we're seeing strange things and laboring next to a duke's ransom in black powder. Or did you reckon a dumb hick like me wouldn't notice? Wonder who Co is. Hey, it's Kaz. Oh, it's a Sheba. The dog watches as you approach, his ears forward and head cocked.
Uh-oh. We got a ferocious beast watching us. And he looks like he's got a very itchy belly.
Beckon the dog to come with you. He takes a few tentative steps and sniffs your hand. He lowers his head under your fingers and looks up at you expectantly, scratch behind his ears. He closes his eyes and raises his head, helping you find just the right spot. After several seconds of this, he stands and shakes himself off, ready to follow. Yay. There he is. Kaz is much happier and generally more friendly than when you first found him hiding in Hasongo. Gives us +1 stealth and +1 survival. Flecks of sealing wax cling to the tip of the blade. Hasongo Fort, expanded design. Oh, this just leads back up to the roof where we were before. All right. The lighthouse is quiet, but for soft, sibilant whispers. There's a repetitive, incantatory quality to them. Yet as you cross the threshold, an old Naga with skin and cracked like leather breaks off. He swivels to face you, barring one broken fang.
The sea-striped fiends send you to uproot the tree of the gods, yes? Their blasphemy knows no bounds.
Couple things. I said barring one broken fang. It's bearing one broken fang. Sugan is the person that the scout that we talked to earlier, the spirit, told her that she was looking for a way. So he is like a leader here, and these sea-striped fiends would be the Almaua who built this lighthouse in the first place, and this tree of the gods is the Adra pillar.
Go! Carry a warning of what you have seen to the other shufflers.
I guess shufflers would be their slur for kith. I need to approach the Adra.
Fool! See what the impiety of the sea-striped fiends has wrought. The sand-striped shufflers know better. But you others come, smooth-toned or furred or sea-striped, with blasphemous hunger. Now, foreign ones dig at these roots, and the deep hunter is with us no more. Now, the gods return to rain their punishment on these islands. Again.
His pupils narrow to angry slits. You're saying the gods brought ruin on Deadfire before? He bears his broken fang in surprise.
Do your stories say nothing of the many disasters? Of the shuffler nests washed away like foam? Many generations ago, The sand-striped ones built great hives across the islands, and bastions around the Adra roots.
Sand-striped? You're describing the Huana.
Their ancestors, yes. Their meddling displeased the gods. So the gods smashed their works with heaving volcanoes and crashing waves.
His beads and bangles rattle as he brings his hand together in a loud clap. So here, these hives, or would be their homes, saying that centuries ago, maybe, the Huana were building things around the Adra roots. The gods got angry and they kind of smashed everything. So you think history is repeating itself?
You shufflers are beasts of habit. You do not learn. You do not change. You cast off your sheddings by night, only to put them back on at daybreak. You wrap yourself in filthy, worn-out things.
A tremor of disgust ripples through his body.
Our ancestors hid deep where the waters quenched the fires and muffled the storms. They remembered while shufflers scattered. Now, the shufflers build again. The gods see. They will tear them all down.
So he's worried that this is going to bring the wrath of the gods, and he sees Aethys's Titan form as a proof of that. I'm going to say, I'm a watcher. I can restore the Adra, if you'll just let me near it. His tail whips on the ground as he considers you.
If your fat tongue speaks true, then give us proof.
What would you consider proof?
I tell you, thick tongues lie. Forked tongues do not. If what you say is true, then surely you can speak with the dead.
He cocks his head to appraise you with one eye. Hopefully we can tell him what we heard from... Forget that Naga's name.
I will believe your words, only if I hear them from the tongue of my own people.
I do want to ask this. Hopefully I can still pull Giannis's soul into the here. But what's the Deep Hunter?
The defender of the Isles, the guardian of tides.
He makes a reverent gesture.
Once it lived among us. In all bright, quiet places where shufflers did not go. But then, more came from distant lands. First few, then many. Now, our deep hunter is gone.
I wonder what this is. Alright, so I'm going to pull Giannis's soul into the here. Hear this, Sagan. Giannis's bright, wispy form appears, and the other Naga pulled themselves into tight, fearful knots. Only Sagan cranes himself forward, his head cocked.
Sugan, I found the way.
Emotion pulses through her essence, crackling in the ether.
Giannis, you died. We saw.
The way became dark, but this one brought light.
She turns briefly to you, but Sagan's mouth is rigid in a broken-fanged grimace.
We will kill the shuffler and free your soul, Giannis.
Just listen to her, Sagan. Giannis turns to Sagan, hissing angrily.
Do old scales cloud your eyes? The shuffler glows, like the Godwalker, like the way.
She looks toward the dull Adra vein. Sagan and the others follow her gaze.
He will open the way.
Giannis points to you as she begins to disappear. As the last of Giannis's essence fades into the in-between, Sagan regards the Adra vein, calculation flickering in his eyes. At last, he turns his guarded gaze on you.
The gods give you power, yes. But is it enough? Approach. Restore the blessing of the gods to the Adra.
Okay. So hopefully we can actually do this here.
As your hand touches the dim Adra, you feel the same cool, pricking sensation that you did when you touched the pillar near Port Mage. You concentrate on the pillar. The world around you swiftly falls away, leaving only the vast emptiness of the in-between. The Adra and a multitude of golden threads undulating off into the distance. For a second time, you gather the threads in your mind and bind them together, forming a solid tether that ripples out toward its distant anchor. Again, a crack sounds from the terminus. Your consciousness is violently pulled along the cord. You are prepared for the sensation this time, but are still disoriented when you come to a sudden stop. You find yourself standing behind a familiar Titanic statue as it trudges through invisible waters. Standing at Aethys' shoulder, your soul is dwarfed by the massive god's form. Energy pulses along the tether, each wave feeding the Adra's movements. He stops. His head cranes behind him, again accompanied by the sound of stone shearing and buckling. His eyes rest upon you. He does not reach for the cord, but considers you for a long span of silence before speaking.
Your first attempt to contact me was brave. This second attempt, is it born out of desperation or something else? Why do you continue to follow me, Watcher of Cadnua?
I want to prevent you from causing any more harm.
Though there is no change in his stone visage, there is a long pause before he speaks.
That's a great challenge you've taken on. Why?
The last time you appeared heralded the death of thousands. I wonder if that's talking about Woedwyn? I'm gonna say I've decided that it's my responsibility as a watcher.
Aethys' great stone eyes consider you at length.
Throughout history, societies have called watchers frauds and madmen, prophets and oracles. I have never known one to take on the burden of arbitration between mortals and gods.
Aethys becomes silent. You can sense his presence advancing back along the cord between you. His energy flows over your hand, tendrils of light probing into the air around you. They poke and prod at the silent lost souls hovering in your vicinity.
You are in a unique position. In spite of the work of the Leaden Key and Hand Occult, you have seen through our facade. You know the god's true nature. Without the benefit of your knowledge, few mortals would be willing to accept the true history of their gods. After all, we weren't.
I think that's suggesting that because they're made by the Inquithans were hesitant to believe that there were no gods, so they made them.
The last time I walked Aora, I made a mistake in not revealing my true purpose. I believe you would understand it better than most.
Again, talking about Saint Woedwyn. So people largely believe that Saint Woedwyn was inhabited by Aethys, and he's kind of confirming that here. I'm just gonna nod.
Yes, I will tell you, but this is not the time. As I take this body farther from the Lighthouse, the tether grows weaker, and I have already tarried too long. Soon this link will unravel completely. If I have not reached my destination when that happens, I will need to pull more souls from your world.
So that's what he's doing. In order to keep going, he needs to pull the souls from the bodies. Wait, is that what happened at Hasongo?
It is. When you contacted me from Port Mage, I had to sever my tether to the luminous Adra. Without it, I lacked the strength to reach Hasongo. I pulled souls from the creatures of the ocean and from the people at Hasongo until I could reach the lighthouse. The soldiers and Naga there were no threat to me. I did not kill them out of malice, but simply to keep this body moving.
Did I cause you to kill all these people?
That question, Watcher, requires a more philosophical examination than we have time for.
The edges of Aethys's massive form blur and dissolve. The huge figure retreats from you. As it moves, the tether begins to rapidly unravel. As Aethys speaks, his voice sounds garbled, fragmented, and distant.
If you would know more, find me at the Ashen Maw in Margren's Teeth. I must rest there before I begin my final work. When I leave that place, you will not be able to follow.
So, is the suggestion here that every time we use these pillars to commune with him, it makes the tether weaker, which in turn makes him have to draw more souls from the people that whose path he wanders through?
Before I go, I should return some of this to you. I still have need of the great power of your soul, but I can spare you this portion.
A pulse of energy moves back along the golden cord toward you. It feels familiar, comforting, even before it contacts you.
So all these interactions we have with Aethys, he doesn't seem like he is an evil person, even though all these people are dying. It seems like he just has a goal in mind, and if he has to pull some souls, then he just does it. And that is a very accurate depiction of what I imagine a god like him would be. Not that he wants to kill people, but just that he's like, if it has to happen, then it has to happen.
The energy washes over you, flooding you with feelings and memories you had thought long forgotten until they settle back into the cracks of your soul. And then the tether and cord snap, Aethys's figure evaporating into dust that mingles with the endless gray expanse. Heat rushes over you, and the uncomfortable sensation of the Adra pillar's presence cuts off. The gloom of the in-between is pierced by the light of the living world. You are back in the lighthouse, no longer dim. The luminous Adra beside you is filled with warmth and light.
The Naga stare at the glowing Adra, their diamond pupils wide. Zagan turns his gaze to you, his body in a cautious half coil.
Long have we kept peace with the sand-striped people. But then, the foreign ones came and spread, killed our people, built their hives everywhere.
So understandably, I think, for someone that looks like snakes, he is unable to tell the difference between the Huana and the Royal Deadfire Company, or the Rawatayans. They are both Aumaua, but mostly Aumaua, not 100% Aumaua. They are mostly Aumaua, but it seems to think like they're one and the same. But he does call them foreign ones, so he knows that Rawataya are the foreign ones.
Shodri, you attack every foreign ship you see. The Huana may not like us, but at least they speak to us.
Oh, so the foreign ones were the Valians? Shodri, a Valian term for nonsense.
We were sure the Godwalker came to cast them out, that driving them away was a holy mission.
Curiosity and consternation simmer in his eyes. The gods have bigger concerns than our feuds. We must learn to live together.
But on whose terms?
His tail flicks in irritation.
We must go. I know not what this means, but our brethren should hear of it. You show us something new today, Shuffler. Thank you for this, and for your mercy.
He presses something into your hand before departing. You've gained the item Strand of Favor. The item was put into your stash. A Strand of Favor is a necklace? Gives us +1 intellect, gives minus 10% hostile effect duration, and plus 10% beneficial effect duration. The lower Naga castes often give shark teeth to venerated shaman as a token of respect. The shaman weave these teeth into strands which are worn as necklaces. The more teeth the shaman possesses, the more renown they accrue. Should the necklace be lost or destroyed, the shaman is chastised, the renown made forfeit, and they are forced to start the necklace again. So I wonder if giving this to us is going to cause him to be chastised. Okay. So, the distant light. We have connected with Aethys. He didn't tell us what he's doing, only to see come out at Mogren's teeth. Then he waits in fire. I spoke with Aethys in the ruins of Hasongo, but was unable to divert him from the machinations. He bade me to meet him at the luminous Adra pillar in a chain of volcanic islands called Mogren's Teeth. If I want to know more about his intentions, I'll have to join him there. Okay, so all that set, we'll have to go and talk to the Rawatayans that are down there. I don't know if they're going to be happy that we let the Naga go or not, but, you know, who cares? But that is going to signal the end of the session for today. We accomplished a lot here, including speaking with Lödwyn, who is going to be a character that's in the upcoming Avowed. So I think at the beginning of the next session, going to look up the order that she was involved in, the Steel Garrote, so I can read a little bit about that to start off, so we know a little bit more about who she is before Avowed is released, or who knows, if you're watching this after Avowed is released, then just know a little bit more about the Steel Garrote for that reason. But that will have to wait for next session. So thank you as always for joining me. Please feel free to contact me with clarifications, comments, suggestions, questions, those kinds of things. I'd love to hear from you, and I hope you join me next time for more sentences and paragraphs. Bye, everybody.